Here's a video of Dennis Prager talking about, the matter of Palestinians and other countries and support of other countries, etc. As he often does, he says some things that are clearly true, but are, number one, all the things that he says are inconvenient. Some of them are more uncomfortable than others, but they're true nonetheless, right? The truth of something isn't dependent on how convenient or comfortable it is. It's dependent on whether or not it's true. And there are really, I would say, three primary points that he makes here. Let's have a listen and see what we think.
I was wondering if you could please comment on your thoughts about why Egypt won't allow refugees from Gaza, as well as all the Muslim nations which surround Israel. What is the reasoning preventing refuge to the Palestinians? Thank you. Oh, I'll tell you the reason. They can't stand the Palestinians. And the reason they can't stand the Palestinians is because wherever the Palestinians have gone to in the Arab world, there has been massive bloodshed as a result. They were the primary instigators of the civil war in Lebanon. They were so disruptive in Jordan that the king of Jordan, Hussein, killed tens of thousands of them. That's what's called Black September, when so many Palestinians were killed by Jordan. Of course, nobody talks about this because it wasn't Israel who killed them. It was another Arab state. Egypt doesn't want this group in their midst either. I know this is really, what is the word, politically incorrect, but the Palestinians are not an impressive people if morality it renders you impressive or not impressive. Okay? The legacy of terror committed by Palestinians is probably the greatest of any one single group on earth today. They're the people who slaughtered the entire Israeli Olympic team in the 1972 Olympics. They're the people who blew up school buses filled with school children in Israel. And here's the thing, they are heroes among fellow Palestinians. Here's another thing that you might find of interest with regard to the Palestinians. I realize this in speaking about the difference between the Nazis and Hamas, because there's only one difference. They both want to exterminate the Jewish people, but there is one difference. Hamas bragged about what they did to their fellow Palestinians, and the Nazis hid what they did to the Jews from their fellow Germans. In other words, there were more Germans who would have been upset about what Hitler was doing to Jews than there are Palestinians upset about Iran or Hamas would do to Jews. Yeah, I'm sorry, I hate to say this. I wish it weren't true. It's an unimpressive group. Are there impressive individual Palestinians? Of course there are. Of course. There's no group that's all good or all bad. But ask Jordan, ask Lebanon, and ask Egypt what they think about the Palestinians. Don't ask the Israelis. In fact, the Israelis were much kinder to Palestinians. In fact, ironically, there are one fifth of all of Israel are Palestinians, ironically, Palestinian Arabs. But they have become used to Western civilization and to tolerance and to openness. And notice that they have not sided with Hamas, but the Palestinians outside of Israel have. That's, in fact, every poll done by Arab polling has shown that Israeli Arabs are more pro-Israel now than at any time since Israel was established. None of this would, however, be known to most people because they don't report this. And of course, you know, there's such a desire to say, oh, there are beautiful Israelis and beautiful Palestinians and ugly Israelis and ugly Palestinians. Of course, that's true. But as in the sum total, a lot of Palestinians were driven to Israeli hospitals if their kid had cancer. Yeah, Israelis, Jewish Israelis would be driving them. One of the reasons that the Israelis were so hurt by what happened October 7th, aside from the evil that took place, was the disappointment. Because so many from Gaza had been working in the homes. They would cross the border and be treated beautifully by Israelis over the course of years. but they were taking notes about where the shelters were, where an Israeli could hide in terms of attack. And that is one of the ways in which the butchers of October 7th found Israelis. So that's why Egypt doesn't want Palestinians inside of Egypt.
Yeah. The truth is the truth, right? And I think there are three things here that Dennis Prager really gets at. Number one is none of the other countries, none of the other Arab countries in the region actually care about the Palestinians, right? They just use them as their puppets, they're useful idiots to tie up Israel and to make things difficult for Israel, but they don't actually care. And when it comes down to it, they're not willing to do anything that's even mildly inconvenient for themselves in order to help the Palestinians. They're certainly not interested in taking them into their countries. And the second point that he makes is that historically, based in historical fact, they kind of have a valid reason to not be super interested in doing that. So number one is none of the other countries are interested in helping. Number two is, can you blame them? Ask them. But they're clearly not interested, and all the countries that are not interested have very compelling arguments for why they're not interested. Now, none of them will actually say that to your face. That's the truth. They'll all say, well, that's ethnic cleansing. They should really stay in Palestine because that's their homeland and that's where they belong. Never mind that most of the people in Gaza who are not aligned with Hamas are desperate to leave and are begging to be allowed to leave. But that's not convenient either, so let's just keep them there and lie and say that we're doing it because it's their land. When they don't want to be there, they're literally begging to be allowed to leave. But no one actually wants to help them out. No one's interested in offering them space. And the real reason is because historically, when they've tried it in the past, it's gone really, really badly for every single country that's tried it. And then the third thing that he gets at is this, it's not all the Palestinians, it's just Hamas, but there's, 1 point however many million innocent civilians. All of Gaza's innocent except for Hamas. Are the people who were dancing in the streets on October 7th, celebrating, singing, giving out candies, celebrating what happened, even though they're not card-carrying members of Hamas? The women, the mothers who were dancing in the streets celebrating the fact that elderly Jews were burnt alive in their cars, that Jewish babies were executed at point-blank range in their cribs. They danced in the streets and celebrated. Those are the innocent, poor innocent people? No, sorry. Maybe they're not card-carrying members of Hamas. Maybe they didn't actively participate in October 7th. But if they danced in the streets celebrating, sorry, not sorry. That's number one. Number two is, there definitely are some genuinely innocent, good-hearted people in Gaza who are opposed to the tyranny and the genocidal bloodshed of Hamas. But it's kind of hard to know who's who, right? As he outlined, the terrorists came into these settlements on October 7th with maps of where the safe rooms were, with lists of names, how many people are in each house and what their names are and which rooms they sleep in, and how many dogs they have, and what's the securest place that they'd probably be hiding in the event of a terrorist infiltration. That information came from the poor, innocent, friendly civilians who worked in those houses, who were employed, who made a living working in those houses with these families. That makes it kind of hard to trust innocent Palestinian civilians who just want to live a good life. When the last time we tried that, and the time before, and the time before, and the time before, this is what it led to. It led to these innocent, friendly civilians who just want to work and make a living, using the opportunity to document information that was used to wipe out settlements, to execute babies, what are you supposed to do? They kind of made it difficult, and to the minority in Gaza who are genuinely innocent and good-hearted and don't support Hamas and would never do something like that, it is tragic and unfortunate that they're stuck in this mess. It's a tragedy. Nobody else wants to help, though. Everybody just wants Israel to sacrifice its safety for the cause. But no one else wants to actually do anything about it. What else is there to even say?